Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different, actually. We're cracking open a whole stack of analysis focused on European football matches happening tomorrow, May 29th, 2025.
Yeah, think of this as your personal shortcut. Not just for predictions, but to really get underneath the surface, understand the hidden dynamics, the strategic stuff behind the headlines and the odds.
We've got analysis covering, well, quite a range. Cup finals, relegation playoffs, some crucial league games too. Denmark, France, Italy, Netherlands, Norway. It's all in here.
And our mission, really, for this deep dive is to unpack all this material, zero in on those key insights, those important nuggets, and help you see what's really driving things beyond just the basic stats you see everywhere.
So yeah, get ready to dive deep with us. We'll be looking at form, injuries, of course, tactics, but also, maybe some less obvious things like weather, pitch conditions.
Yeah.
Stuff the sources say could really swing these results. Let's unpack this.
Where should we start?
Let's start in Denmark. Landspokel Cup final. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. local. It's FC Copenhagen versus Silkeborg.
Right.
Played at Brøndby Stadium, so that's a neutral venue. FCK are the initial favorites, odds around 1.57. Weather looks okay, 18 degrees, some sun.
Okay, the first thing the analysis flags, which is interesting, is the venue itself. FCK, they're usually dominant at Parken, their home ground, right? Which has that specific hybrid pitch.
Yeah.
Playing this on natural grass at a neutral site, it just subtly removes that ingrained advantage. I mean, that might sound small, but training day in, day out on one surface, then switching, it could just alter the rhythm, especially in those tight midfield battles.
Interesting point. And FCK certainly have the history, don't they? 9 Danish Cups, 16 league titles. Their cup record recently is, well, formidable. 11 wins in the last 12 cup matches.
Yeah, and strong form generally, scoring in 13 straight games. But, and this is a detail from the analysis, even their coach mentioned some rustiness after they rotated the squad in the semis. Maybe something to keep in mind.
And Silkeborg, they're not just making up the numbers here.
Definitely not. They won this cup back in 2001, and importantly, they won it last year. They're the current holders. And they beat Brøndby in the semis, which was a big result. 5 wins in their last 9 games overall. Look, they're maybe better than their 7th place league position suggests, especially in a cup context.
Okay. What about head-to-head?
Historically, FCK dominates, 29 wins to 10 in 49 games. But the recent trend is what's fascinating. High-scoring games. Average 3.45 goals.
Wow.
And get this. Their last 2 league meetings this season, both ended 2-2.
Both 2-2. Okay, that definitely suggests Silkeborg can trouble them.
It really does. Those draws, the high average goals, it points towards both teams finding the net, doesn't it? And then you factor in FCK's injury list. It's quite extensive.
Who's out?
Key players. Cornelius up front, Pereira at the back, Herger in midfield, Bargi on the wing, Boylsson, plus others long-term. It impacts their depth, their options.
Right. Silkeborg have injuries too, the analysis notes.
They do, yes. Several names mentioned. But the feeling from the analysis is maybe they're not quite as critical to their core structure as FCK's absences are.
Okay. Tactically, what's the expected clash?
FCK described as dynamic, 3-4-3, sometimes a 5-2-3 defensively. They like line-breaking passes with high press. Silkeborg, more possession-based, patient build-up, use the wide areas, but can also sit in a low block. So the key battle is likely FCK's press against Silkeborg's ability to play through it.
And the ref. Anything notable?
Jacob Kellett.
Yeah.
Now, this was odd. One source pointed out he'd had 0 cards or penalties in his last 12 months of data, which seems unlikely, right?
Very strange.
Exactly. So the analysis looks deeper at his career averages. Those are more moderate. 3-4 yellows a game, maybe a penalty every 4 or 5 games. So you'd expect a moderately officiated game, possibly some cards, maybe a penalty. It shows you can't always rely on just the very latest, potentially noisy data.
Right. You need the bigger picture. So wrapping up Denmark, the strategic outlook. Market loves FCK at 1.57.
Loves FCK, yeah. But the analysis raises flags, doesn't it? Neutral venue, FCK's injuries, that rustiness comment, Silkeborg's cup form, and especially those recent 2-2 draws.
It feels more volatile than the odds suggest.
Exactly. That 3.45 average goals in H2H, the recent draws, it just screams both teams to score, maybe over 2.5 goals. The street FCK win market might be a bit inflated here, given all those factors.
Okay, really interesting dynamics there. Let's switch gears completely. France. League One relegation playoff. Second leg.
High stakes.
Very high stakes. Tomorrow, 7:3 p.m. Reims from League One host Metz from League Two. First leg was 1-1. Clear weather expected. Winner stays in or gets promoted to League One.
And the analysis paints a picture here of two teams on, well, quite different trajectories right now. Reims finished 16th in League One, and they're in a real slump.
Not bad.
Lost their last 3 league games. The analysis calls their season surreal. Struggling badly for goals, just 2 scored in their last 6 games overall. And their home form isn't great either, only 2 wins in the last 10 there. They did get to the French Cup final, lost to PSG, but the analysis noted that game was decided early, so maybe they conserved some energy. Small point maybe, but their league form is the big worry.
And Metz, coming up from League Two.
Finished 3rd in League Two, pushing hard for an immediate return. They beat Dunkirk in the preliminary playoff. This is actually their 2nd playoff in a row they lost out last season.
So they have recent experience of this pressure.
They do, and crucially, the analysis highlights Metz are in much stronger form, even though they're the lower division side. 2nd best attack in League Two, 3rd tightest defense.
Wow, okay.
Their away form is particularly strong, only lost once on the road in all of 2025, 5 wins in their last 7 away games. And interestingly, those wins tended to be higher scoring, over 2.5 goals, which contrasts with the first leg result here. Overall, just 1 loss in their last 12 games.
So momentum is firmly with Metz then, head-to-head.
Historically, pretty balanced, but the key stat, Reims have only won 1 of the last 11 competitive games against Metz.
Only 1 in 11. That's telling.
It is. And 7 of the last 10 competitive meetings were low scoring. Plus, that first leg, only 4 shots on target total between both teams.
4 total. Wow. That really screams cagey defensive, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It reinforces that idea of prioritizing, not conceding. And then you look at the injuries for Reims. It's devastating, according to the analysis.
Who are they missing?
Key attackers like Deremy, Hadra, Fofana are out. Moscardo, Kadra also missing. Tuma's excluded too. It really limits their options, especially up front where they're already struggling.
And Metz's injury situation.
Full strength, no reported injuries.
That's huge.
It's a massive advantage in a deciding leg like this.
Tactically, how does this likely play out?
Reims under Diawara have struggled. They've shifted from maybe trying to be more positive to focusing on a defensive block. Metz are described as pragmatic, defensively robust. They use different formations, but often rely on that low block and hitting on the counter. Given the 1-1 score, the high stakes, defensive priority seems almost certain for both.
And the referee, Hakim Ben El Haj.
Averages around 4 yellows in League One, potential for a penalty. Maybe slightly less strict with Reims historically, but in a tense game like this, you'd expect a moderate card count.
So strategically, the market's a bit unsure. Reims around 2.30.
Yeah, non-committal. But the analysis really stacks up against Reims here, doesn't it?
Oh.
Terrible form, the injury crisis, poor home record.
Versus Metz's strong form, solid defense, great away record, full squad.
Exactly. It makes you question if the market is overvaluing Reims simply because they're the League One team. All the evidence points towards a tight, low-scoring game. Under 2.5 goals looks very probable based on this.
And maybe even value in Metz.
The analysis definitely suggests looking at Metz to qualify. Given the contrasting states of the two teams right now, it feels like it could offer value.
Okay, let's head south now. Italy. Serie B playoff, first leg. Cremonese versus Spezia.
Right.
Tomorrow, 7 to 3 p.m. Stadio Giovanni Zini in Cremona. Cremonese odds about 2.37. And it's going to be warm, the analysis notes. Around 29 Celsius, 84 Fahrenheit.
Okay, first leg dynamics are always interesting. Cremonese will want to lead, obviously, but Spezia have a slight edge from the league standings.
How so?
Spezia finished 3rd, Cremonese 4th. In these Serie B playoffs, if the aggregate score is tied after 2 legs, the higher-ranked team, Spezia in this case, goes through.
Ah, okay. So Spezia can afford to be more cautious, especially away.
Exactly. That incentivizes them to keep it tight on the road and the warm weather. That could also lead to a more measured pace, players conserving energy, especially early on.
Form-wise, Cremonese mixed lately in the league, but they had that big comeback win in the semis, right? Beat Juve Stabia 3-0 at home after losing the first leg.
Yeah, that's big for momentum. Spezia, also strong in their semi, beat Catanzaro 4-1 on aggregate. And interestingly, Spezia made the semis last year too, but lost to Cremonese.
Okay, so there's recent playoff history there too. What about the overall head-to-head?
This is quite striking, according to the analysis. Cremonese are unbeaten in the last 7 meetings against Spezia.
7 unbeaten.
Yep. 4 wins and a draw in the last 5. In the most recent game, just a few weeks back, Cremonese won 3-2 away at Spezia, even after getting a red card.
Wow, okay. That's dominance. Do the games tend to be high scoring?
Average recently is about 2.4 goals per game, so goals are possible, but maybe not always a huge number.
Injuries are a factor for both sides here, too.
Yes, multiple injuries reported for both teams. Cremonese missing Saro long-term, Ravanelli, Pickles, Animacchia listed among others. Impacts defense, midfield. Spezia have doubts over Bertola, Rica, Nagy, plus Sar and Esposito out. It definitely affects depth and tactical options for both managers in a demanding playoff situation.
So tactically, what does the analysis expect?
Cremonese under Strappa, likely a 3-4-3 or maybe 3-4-1-2. Solid base, dynamic wingbacks, midfield control, pressing, quick transitions. Spezia under D'Angelo often go 3-5-2 for width encounters, but can use 4-3-3 or drop into a low block. Given the stakes, the heat, the first leg caution, analysis points to a potentially cagey start, maybe 0-0 for a spell.
Makes sense. And the ref, Luca Pareto.
Not afraid of his cards, apparently. Averages over 4 yellows in Serie A, over 5 in Serie B this season. Good chance of a penalty, too, based on his record.
So strategically, market uncertainty, Cremonese at 2.37.
Yeah, reflects the situation. You've got Cremonese's head-to-head dominance in that semifinal momentum.
Versus Spezia's higher league finish advantage and the playoff rule favoring them in a draw.
Exactly. Plus the heat, the first leg factor. Yeah. It all points to maybe a cautious opening half. Could open up later, but expect discipline early on, especially from Spezia.
All right, let's head north. Netherlands, Eredivisie relegation playoff, Telstar versus Willem II.
Okay.
Telstar from the second tier finished 7th. Willem II from the Eredivisie finished 16th. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. at Telstar's ground, 7-Eleven Stadium. Telstar favorites around 1.87.
And the first thing the analysis jumps on here, the pitch. 7-Eleven Stadium has artificial turf.
The plastic pitch factor.
Always a factor, isn't it? It favors the home team. Telstar, who train and play on it constantly, can be tricky for away teams with ball bounce, footing, that kind of thing.
And Telstar are in good shape form-wise.
Very solid. Unbeaten in their last 6 league games. They actually had the most clean sheets in the Eredivisie this season 14. Strong home record, too. They got here by beating Den Bosch in extra time in their semi.
Willem II, though. They're the top league side, but struggling.
Big-time struggles recently. Only 1 win in their last 5 heading into the playoffs. Before the playoffs started, they hadn't won any game in 2025.
Wow, really?
Yeah. They squeezed through their semifinal against Dordrecht on penalties after a crazy 4-4 aggregate draw. And the analysis highlights this. Willem II have a very strong BTTS pattern recently. Both teams score in their games a lot.
So, quite a contrast. Telstar, solid, in-form, home advantage on turf. Willem II struggling, leaky defense, relying on penalties.
Precisely. You can see why the market lacks confidence in Willem II, despite them being the Eredivisie side.
Head-to-head history.
Willem II have the historical edge overall, but the recent trend, it lines up perfectly with that BTTS pattern. Both teams to score has happened in 3 of the last 4 meetings between them. Over 2.5 goals also in 3 of the last 4. It just reinforces that pattern for Willem II games.
Injuries favor Telstar, too.
Seems so. Analysis reports no major absentees for Telstar. Willem II, though, missing several key players. Mathia midfield, Razak on the wing, defenders Turpin and Schouten. That definitely weakens them and likely contributes to that leaky defense and the BTTS trend.
Tactically, how might this look?
Telstar usually 4-3-3 or 3-5-2. Possession, high press, quick transitions. The artificial turf might help their passing game there. Willem II leave 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, trying for balance, but they struggle with possession, leave defensive gaps.
And the referee, Jeroen Manschot.
Moderately strict, averages just over 3 yellows in the Eredivisie. But here's a specific nugget from the analysis. He seems to award penalties more often in Willem II games. An average of 0.67 per game in the 3 matches he's officiated them.
That's quite high, worth noting. So strategically, market favoring Telstar 1.87 feels about right based on this.
It aligns really well, yeah. Telstar's form, the home turf advantage, Willem II's struggles, their injuries, and especially that consistent both teams to score pattern. It all points the same way. Goals from both sides look highly probable, maybe leaning towards Telstar given the home advantage, but the goal markets seem key.
Okay, Norway next. We've got 2 games here. First, Elite Syrian, Brann versus Molde.
Big game.
Tomorrow, 5 p.m., Brann Stadium in Bergen. Brann odds are 2.05. Weather looks decent, 15 degrees, sunny intervals. This match was rescheduled due to Brann's European games earlier, right?
Correct, yeah. Brann's Champions League campaign pushed this one back, and they are flying in the league. 2nd place, only 1 loss all season, and that was their first away game.
So unbeaten since the opening day.
Unbeaten in 8 games now, 6 wins in that run. They had 5 wins in a row before a couple of recent draws.
Yeah.
And their home form, wow, unbeaten at Brand Stadium since last September. That's 10 games.
Impressive.
And the analysis highlights goals at home. All but 2 of their home games have gone over 2.5 goals. Plus, this interesting stat, they've scored 7 goals in the final 15 minutes at home this season. They finished strong.
Okay. And Mold. Former champions, but struggling now.
Yeah, champions in 2022, but way down in 12th currently. Definitely in a rough patch. 3 straight defeats coming into the 2 in the league, 1 cup exit on penalties. Their away form is patchy too. Only 1 win and 4 on the road this season. Only 2 away clean sheets. And significantly, they haven't scored against any top 5 team away from home.
So a clear performance gap right now. Brand flying, especially at home. Mold slumping.
Absolutely. The analysis really emphasizes that disparity. Brand are consistent, powerful at home, score late goals. Mold are inconsistent, poor away, struggling against better teams. Mold do have a good historical record at Brand Stadium, winning 4 of the last 6 visits, but their current form just weighs so heavily against that history.
Injuries a factor again.
Unfortunately, yes, for both sides. Brand missing Torsvik long-term, Wasberg, Opsalaut, couple of doubts. But Mold's list, it's described as even more extensive. Posidala, Dagi, Kaz, Abdoulaye, Bach, Siri, Nyheim all out, Lin's uncertain.
That's a lot of players for Mold.
It is, and the analysis suggests it's a major factor in their current slump. Tactically, Brand play that high-energy 4-3-3, high-possession, aggressive press, wing play. Suits the good weather and natural grass. Mold's vary formations, can score, but defensively weak, conceding over a goal per game recently. Brand's press is tough, and Mold struggles against top teams away suggests they'll find it hard.
Referee. Espen Eskos.
Moderately strict. Averages 2 cards, 0.25 penalties per game this season in the league. Not shy about intervening if needed.
So strategically, market likes Brand at 2.05. Analysis agrees.
Wholeheartedly. Mold are described as off the boil. Brand are dominant at home, score freely there. Mold just aren't performing, especially away against good sides. The historical H2H goal average is high too, 3.45. Combine that with Brand's home scoring. Over 2.5 goals and a Brand win look like strong possibilities based on this, and definitely keep that late goal trend for Brand in mind for any in-play thoughts.
Right. Okay, staying in Norway but dropping down a level. OBOS-Ligaen. Lyn versus Mjøndalen.
Okay, this one's interesting.
Tomorrow, 6 p.m., Bislett Stadium in Oslo. Lyn odds 1.46. Weather cloudy, around 19 degrees. You say interesting.
Well, the analysis uses some strong words about those odds. Puzzling, even laughable.
Laughable. Why 1.46 seems quite short for a home team.
Exactly. Because according to the analysis, both teams are in absolutely dire form, especially when it comes to scoring goals.
Okay, lay it out.
Lyn's only win all season was their first game. That was also their only clean sheet. At home, 3-0-1 losses, 1-1-1 draw. That's it.
Not good. And Mjøndalen.
Even worse, maybe. Failed to score in their last 3 away games. 0 away wins all season. Failed to score in 3 of their last 4 games overall. They've had some heavy defeats, too, recently. 6-0, 4-0.
So 2 teams who seemingly can't buy a goal.
Pretty much. And the market has Lyn as strong favorites. The analysis sees a massive disconnect there. Head-to-head is mixed, but recent competitive games tend low-scoring or narrow wins.
Any injuries making things worse.
Lyn have 1 long-term guy out. John and Lyn have a couple of ongoing issues, which doesn't help their attack. But the analysis implies the goal-scoring problems run deeper than just current injuries for both sides.
And the venue, Bislett Stadium. The analysis mentions the pitch.
Oh, yeah. Describes it as a terrible grass pitch.
Right. And that matters because...
Because a terrible pitch hinders everything.
Yeah.
Passing, control, leads to errors. It favors direct, ugly football, basically. And it massively increases the chances of a low-scoring game. Bad pitch, plus 2 teams who struggle to score. Goals seem highly unlikely.
Got it. Referee is Anders Botting. Anything specific?
What? No specific stats detailed, but you figure tight game, bad pitch, frustration could lead to fouls and cards. So the strategic outlook here, based on the analysis, is stark. The market price for Lyn is way off. Both teams are offensively challenged. The awful pitch points heavily towards few goals, if any.
So under 2.5 goals seems obvious.
Obvious, yes. The analysis even explicitly calls backing 0-0 pre-match a logical approach here. It's seen as a high-risk, low-edge game for standard bets. The source uses that colorful line about the odds feeling co-sponsored by Arthur Daly and Del Boy just to hammer home how questionable that 1.46 price feels.
So the advice is basically be very wary.
Extremely wary. Or even, as the analysis concludes, recognize that sometimes the best strategic move is just to stay away entirely when the value proposition looks this bad.
Fascinating case of market inefficiency highlighted there. Okay, final stop. Sweden. Allsvenskan, Brommapojkarna versus Djurgården.
Right.
Tomorrow, 5 p.m., Grimsta IP in Stockholm. Another artificial pitch. Brommapojkarna odds around 2.60. Sunny weather, about 20 degrees.
Okay, so artificial turf again. Potential slight edge for the home side, Brommapojkarna. Both teams are lower mid-table, 12th and 11th. Both only have 3 wins all season.
And Brommapojkarna's recent form isn't great.
No, 4 straight losses. But, interestingly, all by just 1 goal. 3 1-0 defeats in their last 4. So they're fighting defensively, keeping it tight, just not scoring. Their only home win was against the bottom team.
And Djurgården.
Attack looks weaker than last season. 2 of their 3 wins were narrow 1-0s against lower teams, coming off a 1-1 draw. But the big factor the analysis points to for Djurgården.
Let me guess. European hangover.
Bingo. They had a really deep run in the Conference League, best ever for them. But the analysis strongly suggests it's taken a toll domestically, struggling to cope with both competitions.
Okay, head-to-head.
Djurgården have the historical edge overall, and they'd won the last 6 competitive meetings before the season. But Brommapojkarna won a friendly between them back in March. Recent competitive games seem to be tighter, lower scoring when Bromma are involved.
Now, injuries. The analysis flags this heavily for both.
Massively. It's described as rampant for both sides. Brommapojkarna have significant players out, including a Randust, a key attacker. Djurgården, the analysis says a whopping 10 players out.
10?
Yeah, an extensive list. Key midfielders like Ekdal, Schüller, attacker Zugul Shawo, multiple defenders, keepers. It really impacts their depth, their options, their cohesion. Just chaos, really.
So tactically, with all those injuries,
Yeah.
what can we expect?
Likely cautious setups, 4-5-1 maybe, or 4-3-3 focusing on midfield presence. Brahma tend to sit deeper anyway, struggle to create. Djurgården like quick transitions but are missing key pieces. The analysis expects a very tight, cautious game with limited goal action. Defensive setups, lack of scoring form, and all those injuries point that way.
Referee wasn't named specifically.
No, but the team stats provided suggest cards are probable, 90% chance of over 0.5 cards per team. Djurgården's games tend to see more cards overall, 70% chance over 2.5, 60% over 3.5 in their matches.
So wrapping Sweden up, Brommapojkarna at 2.6 here.
Yeah, and Djurgården's European hangover and that huge injury list are massive factors against them. Brahma's pattern is tight, low-scoring losses. Both teams struggle for goals, both decimated by injuries.
So another low-scoring prediction.
Definitely. The analysis points strongly towards a tight, low-scoring affair. Considering 0-0 pre-match is suggested as logical, but honestly, with this level of injury chaos on both sides, the analysis leans towards it being a low-edge, unpredictable match.
Another case where maybe staying out is the smart play.
Potentially, yeah. As the source puts it again, not trading a game can also be a trading decision. When things are this messy, finding clear value is tough.
Okay, that's a lot of detail across many leagues.
Yeah.
Let's try and synthesize this, connect the dots. What are the big strategic takeaways when you look across all these analyses?
Yeah, definitely some recurring themes. First, those high-stakes games, cup finals, playoffs often mean defensive caution, especially early. We saw that flag for Cremonese Spezia, Reims Metz.
But also, that pressure can lead to late drama, like Brand's late goals.
Exactly. Second, neutral venues really do matter. Taking away that core home comfort, like for FCK, can level the playing field more than odds might reflect.
And market discrepancies were a big theme, weren't they?
Huge. Odds lagging behind form or injury news, overestimating reputation, like with Lynn, or maybe underestimating how much a team like Willem II is struggling. Finding those gaps between price and reality is key.
Pitch conditions, too, not just a minor detail.
No, critical. Whether it's artificial turf favoring Telstar or that awful grass pitch actively hindering play for Linneman Jondelin, it directly impacts how the game might flow and how many goals you might expect.
Referee tendencies add another layer of unpredictability.
Yep. Card counts, penalty likelihood, especially in tense games, it's a factor. And then recognizing those goal patterns, BTTS for Willem II, high scoring for FCK Silkeborg, H2H, based on team styles, weaknesses, history.
And finally, that European handover effect on Djurgården, a real thing that can create opportunities if you spot it.
Definitely. Juggling multiple competitions stretches resources, impacts domestic form.
So bringing it all together, what does this mean for you, the listener, looking at these games? Let's recap the strategic leans from the analysis.
Okay. For FC Copenhagen versus Silkeborg, the lean is towards both teams to score MTUs. Over 2.5 goals, Seeing more value there than just the straight FCK win, given the neutral venue, injuries, and H2H trends.
For Reims versus Metz, Reims' injury crisis and Metz's form point heavily to under 2.5 goals. And the analysis suggests Metz to qualify is a really compelling thought.
In Cremonese versus Spezia, expect caution early due to stakes and heat. A 0-0 period seems plausible before it potentially opens up.
Telstar versus Willem II, that strong BTTS pattern for Willem II, plus Telstar's home form on turf, makes goals from both sides look very likely.
For Brand versus Mold, Brand's dominant home form against Molde's slump points strongly to a Brand win and over 2.5 goals. Remember Brand's late goal trend, too.
The Lynn versus Mjondalen game.
Yeah.
The analysis screamed market inefficiency. Those Lynn odds look laughable. Under 2.5 goals or backing 0-0 early seemed the logical angles, but the bigger point was maybe this is a game to avoid due to questionable value.
Right. Sometimes the best trade is no trade. And finally, Brommapoikarna versus Djurgården, just riddled with injuries and goal-scoring issues, points to a tight, low-scoring game. Maybe 0-0 pre-match is a thought, or again, maybe it's just too messy and unpredictable to get involved with strategically.
So that was our deep dive into the strategic analysis behind tomorrow's European football. We've tried to show how looking beyond the obvious at factors like injuries, venues, even pitch quality can reveal opportunities and risks the basic odds might miss.
Yeah, hopefully it gives you a different lens, a way to look deeper, not just at these games, but maybe at any complex situation you're trying to figure out. It's about finding those key connections, seeing how all the pieces fit together, sometimes in unexpected ways.
And here's maybe a final thought to chew on. If things we often overlook, like who's injured on a team or what kind of grass they're playing on, can have such a clear impact on something like professional sports, what does that suggest about all the other complex systems around us? Economics, politics, even just daily life. How many hidden variables, maybe seemingly small things, are actually shaping the outcomes we see in ways we don't even realize?
That's a fascinating question to ponder. Loads to think about there.
Indeed. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.